Welcome to Veteran State of Mind. I'm your host, Geraint Jones. Thanks for joining us today, guys. And if you're a first-time listener, welcome. Thanks for coming along. For those of you who have been here before, you know the drill. We don't charge on this podcast, but I would like to ask of you a fee. And that fee is, if you enjoy the podcast, please bring your mates along. Help us grow the podcast. Help us get these stories out there. Why is that important? Besides for my ego, it's because we do have people getting in touch with the podcast who says that it's helped them through rough times. Some people it says it's really helped them turn the corner when it's come to the really kind of dark side of that's possible for some veterans. So please help us share the word, help us spread the word, and thank you so much to the Royal British Legion for helping us do that, for helping us do this podcast. Wouldn't happen without them. So thank you so much. During this time, the British Legion are operating as usual. They've got a lot of stuff online about helping you through financial difficulties, which I know unfortunately a lot of people are going through at the moment. So get in touch with them about that. Mental health issues, housing issues, anything like that. Just stick Royal British Legion into Google. They'll take you through to all the different pages. I tag them up on the posts so you can find them through there. This podcast is also made possible in part thanks to Frontier Risks Group, home of the world's leading practical training course in security risk management consultancy. Frontier Risks Group is an amalgamation of a number of leading companies in their fields, guided by a team of equal expertise in their respective domains, from security and crisis management, corporate risk, intelligence and analysis, compliance, workplace investigations, trauma response, and training consultancy. If you're a veteran or if you've been transitioning out of the military, then you need to check these guys out regardless of your rank or background. Some of Frontier Risk's former students now work as security risk managers, advisors and travel risk managers, security analysts at some of the world's biggest organizations such as Netflix, BBC, Deloitte and BAE Systems, to name but a few. You can check them out at frontierrisks.com or at Frontier Risks. This podcast is also made possible thanks to Altberg boots. You guys know how I feel about Altberg boots. I have been wearing them for, 14 years now. Absolutely love them. Wore the Michaelites in Afghanistan and Iraq. They never let me down. I wear the Warriors now when I go hiking, as the Americans would say, tabbing, as British soldiers would say. In other words, I was going to say putting a lot of weight on my back and going up on the mountains. Not so much weight these days, just a few packs of sandwiches. But yes, Altbergs. Protect my ankles. Love them. They look fantastic as well. You can check them out at www.altberg.co.uk. That's spelled Altberg. Fantastic boots, and I highly recommend them. And I wouldn't recommend you anything that I don't use myself, such as Zulu Alpha straps, Ali watch straps for bombers blokes. Again, I wear them myself, guys. I recommend them myself. They're a brilliant company. They do a lot to support veterans. They are veteran owned. And you know what? One of the things they do to support veterans is supporting this podcast. We are very, very thankful to them for that. So if you want to support a veteran owned and veteran operated company, check them out. They've got some fantastic photos online. If you go to @Zulu Alpha Straps, tell them I sent you and enjoy perusing some lovely timepieces, some lovely straps, and then get one for yourself. Right, guys, I am extremely excited about today's guest. She was the first female combat veteran to ever run for president of the United States and the first female combat veteran ever elected to Congress along with Tammy Duckworth. She served for 7 years on Foreign Affairs, Armed Services and Homeland Security committees where she's been intimately involved with sensitive national security issues. A veteran of 2 tours in the Middle East, she is an outspoken critic of regime change wars and the new Cold War. She is, of course, Tulsi Gabbard, and I am so happy to have her on the show. Really enjoyed this interview, and I know you guys are going to too. Thank you so much for listening, and let's get into it. Cue the music.
Life's hard, I know that. Still wouldn't change shit. I wouldn't go back, I wouldn't go back. Feelings I hold back. Memories fade, they go fast, they go fast. Good times that come and go, survive the highs and lows. Just take it step by step, I guess, I suppose. Good times that come and go, survive the highs and lows. Just take it step by step, I guess, I suppose.
Tulsi, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much. Good to see you. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, well, we had a good chat the other day, and we got a lot to get started with. But first of all, I wanted to start with something that was kind of, I saw this, I told you before, on the back of a bumper sticker practice aloha. So I know that's something
Yes.
people who are familiar with you will have heard you use the term before. So can you tell us in the UK what is aloha?
it's a it's something that is almost universally known or recognized. Like people hear aloha, they think of Hawaii, which is my home, but most people think it just means hello or goodbye because it's how it's most often used as a greeting. When you see somebody, you say aloha, or when you're done, you say bye, you say aloha. But it means neither. It has a really beautiful, powerful meaning that literally alo means to share. Ha is that is the breath of life that is common to and connects all of us. It connects, all living things, all of humanity. And so, in the traditional Native Hawaiian way of greeting, um, when two people come together, you kind of put your hands on each other's shoulders, you touch foreheads and noses, close your eyes, and you just share a deep breath. And it is that recognition that we are all connected. We are all God's children. We are all brothers and sisters. And therefore, setting the foundation for that conversation or that interaction that gets past all the noise and, well, I'm this and you're that. This is my team. That's your team, or
Mm.
whatever it is that causes conflict and friction. And it's not to say there will never be disagreements or arguments or agree to disagree, but when you start from that place of aloha, you're saying, I respect you and I'm coming to you with an open heart. And then let's begin and find that inspiration in that spirit of aloha.
I love that. And I just kind of want to go in that a little bit, actually, because I didn't realize it was that much of a, that kind of much of a, like a physical connection. I love that idea of sharing a breath as well.
Yeah.
And, right now, I think that's one of the things is like people are hurting with is that lack of physical connection.
Yeah.
And I got back from the States the other week. I had a couple of weeks in, it was kind of like self-quarantine. I was in the same house as my mum and my brother. Couldn't give them a hug or anything. It felt great to just finally give them a hug. And I think there's so much like that, kind of like that physical contact. I think it's why it's so important to get people in the same room whenever possible when you are discussing, be it politics, business, whatever, because like we're so much more civil to each other when we shake it. Like that's the reason we have these traditions, like you're a lot less likely to want to stab someone when you're not talking to them. You're arguing them on this anonymous comment section,
Yes.
sorry, on the other side of the world. Talking of social media, segue into that. You've fallen foul of the kind of the tech monopolies of the world to a lot more of a something I complain about a lot, but I wasn't running for president of the United States, so it's something that I've seen a lot. I get a lot of people messaging me at the moment. People who are shadow banned is one of the things, and for those that aren't kind of familiar with the term, it's not kind of like an official warning you get or anything like that from these tech platforms like Facebook or Instagram. But basically what will happen is your posts will then get restricted from the people who are seeing them. So if you've got 10,000 followers, 10,000 people aren't going to be seeing your posts, regardless of the algorithm. Like my brother, so we're talking about my brother here. He's like, why aren't you posting any stories recently? I'm like, well, you're talking about you've been on them. He's like, I haven't, because he's not seeing, like, they're not going on to his thing. And it's because I've been using keywords like, keywords that basically come under their umbrella of misinformation. Do you want to just talk people through your experience with it? Was it Google that you had who's it you have a bit of a history with?
Google, which owns YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, on that,
Is that right? Google owns
Google
YouTube,
have
right?
Google have YouTube. Yeah, Google have YouTube, and Facebook have Instagram and WhatsApp. Which, while WhatsApp is not necessarily a social media platform, it is obviously like a huge platform when it comes to connecting people around the globe. So, what was your kind of experience with Google? The context of it.
Well, this whole thing began with my presidential campaign, first presidential debate of the entire of the Democratic primary. And as you can imagine, my team, we had prepared in advance. We had, the hope was, not a lot of people in the country knew who I was at that point, a congresswoman from Hawaii. And that would be my first major moment of national exposure. So the hope was, I would perform well in that debate, and people would say, hey, I wonder who Tulsi Gabbard is. Get online, go to Google and say, who is Tulsi Gabbard or whatever. And so we had our Google Ads account set up. We had our content upload. Everything was lined up to be able to get people who were asking questions to me to be able to answer them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I was the most searched candidate of that debate night, and which was what we had hoped for. But as this traffic was going to our account, our Google Ads account was suspended without notice, without explanation, without anything. So, our tech team, they tried calling, emailing, everything. Hey, what do we got to do to get this thing back up? Tell us what we did wrong so we can fix it. No real explanation. Long story short, after that period, a certain period had gone by, all of a sudden the account was reinstated once again without explanation. And further follow-up, I mean, good faith attempts to be able to figure out, hey, what was done wrong so we can fix it, make sure it doesn't happen again, basically went unanswered. Because it's Google, and they feel that they don't have to answer anyone, even a member of Congress, a presidential candidate, and that's why we filed the lawsuit. Is that it wasn't just about the missed opportunity of that moment in my campaign. It's about the fact that you have a global multi-billion-dollar corporation that has the power to interfere in our democratic society and people's ability to get the information that they're looking for about a candidate running for president. And if they could do it to me, they could do it to someone running for school board, or they could do it to anybody anywhere. And it's a very dangerous situation that we're in, that especially these big tech companies like Google and Facebook in particular, they have an incredible amount of power to control what you're seeing and decide what they don't want you to see.
Yeah, and there's no viable alternative because right now, like
that's the thing.
As I try to coin the phrase "fear for the media" now. Feel free to use that one. And it's like right. I don't want to watch the mainstream media because I know what they're doing on there. So you try and find your sources at other places, and for a while YouTube was a great place to get to go on there and find some kind of counter the narrative of what you were getting on the media,
right?
Yeah. But now they've basically just come out and said anything that disagrees with this organization, we're just pulling all the videos, and so they're not even hiding this. They're not even hiding this. Yeah. It's so the example I'm giving there for anyone who's not familiar with it is basically YouTube have said whatever the World Health Organization puts out, we're pulling anything that's counter to that. Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that the World Health Organization is run by a bunch of vampires or anything like that. I'm not going that deep down the dive. Yeah. However, they have been wrong in the past, and it's just not a good idea for science or for anything else to restrict ourselves to one point of view. It's exactly. Just very limiting.
That's really the key. I mean, you think about, for us here in the United States, the kind of foundation of our democracy and the First Amendment not only provides for that freedom to ask questions, to challenge authority, to question the decisions that are being made or the information that's being put out. It encourages it. So this is something that's celebrated.
So sorry, for our British listeners who may not be familiar with the First Amendment, can you just expand on?
It's freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. Essentially, it's freedom of speech, freedom to gather, freedom to worship. It is the cornerstone of, when people think of America and the land of the free. It is our Constitution that is the bedrock of those freedoms, the first of which is freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. And when you start limiting and curtailing people's freedom to ask questions, freedom to criticize our own government, freedom to question those policies that are being put in place, or the information that we're being given, it eats away at the heart of the foundational principles of this country.
Well, I think it's fair to say that a lot of people have flocked to America precisely because of that, because they were persecuted, in their own countries. They weren't allowed to practice their own religious beliefs. So as anyone history is kind of my thing, and as someone that's seen that, it's very saddening to see that those kind of principles are being eroded and being attacked. I think one of the problems here is
just one example there. A friend of mine, he's a filmmaker, and just this is literally happening in real time. He sent me a video. He made a film about basically what information is being put out by the CDC and the FDA and coming from the government as related to coronavirus. And he's raising some pretty controversial points. I don't, I was interested. I want to do my own research to vet through those points, say, hey, maybe I agree with some, disagree with others. But the point is, he's raising some legitimate questions. Almost 1 million views in less than 24 hours, then it's gone.
Yeah. What's really kind of crazy as well, Tulsi, is if I put a video out and I said that the Queen is a lizard person, which is, a conspiracy theory that does go around, and one I never say that because I love the Queen, but that would stay on there. But if I said anything to do with this kind of COVID thing, it would be taken off. So it's not like there's even this thing of, hey, unless you can prove something to be true, we're taking it off. It's just this is very selective, and it does seem to be in line with say the political leanings of whatever that company is. So can you explain to people, because one of the things people will come back with on this is, hey, it's a private company, they can do what they want. Yeah. Why is that kind of not right? Is something that because it sounds like a valid point, but why is that something that we should be a bit wary of using in this situation?
Well, I think there's two major points here. Number one is we have antitrust laws that are supposed to protect consumers from monopolies, from any one corporation, or two, from monopolizing an entire industry. But unfortunately, that's what we have here. And so I think, first of all, and this is something I've talked a lot about, is that our antitrust laws need to be updated to be able to be used to prevent the Googles and the Facebooks from being able to immediately gobble up or destroy any potential competitors who want to provide an alternative option for consumers. The second thing is these two big tech giants are protected from the normal liability that is that applies to publishers. And, I think their argument is, well, we're a social media platform. People post things. We're not responsible for what people post. But if now they're picking and choosing which posts they want people to see, they should no longer receive this waiver of liability that actually applies to other publishers, because in essence, they are publishing. They are publishers.
Right.
Once you start picking and choosing, like the New York Times decides what letters to the editor they want to publish. They decide what content they want to put out to the public, and they are liable. They can be held liable for the content that they put out.
Right.
It's a big deal. This is legislation I'm working on right now, actually, to update this, because you look at that contrasted with maybe a platform like Reddit that is, user driven. You put something out. If I post something on Reddit, people can upvote it or downvote it or whatever, and that drives what people actually end up seeing.
Yeah, I think it's this thing of if you go onto Facebook right now or Instagram right now, because a lot of these posts are hidden, you'll only get one story, and you'll be led to believe that is the way everybody's thinking. For all we know right now, it could be 3/4 of the people are disagreeing with the way things are being handled. And at the end of the day, the government is there to represent the people. It's not it's not the other way around. And that seems to be something that's getting lost at the moment. That this isn't this idea that power comes from the people. And it's quite disturbing to see. I think you see more, like, it's become more of a visible issue in the States than it is in the UK. But yeah,
people feel. I think people feel so. I think that's where there's such a lot of dissatisfaction in general with governmental institutions and elections, and why, unfortunately, we're still seeing such low voter turnout, even outside of a coronavirus pandemic, is a lot of people feel like their voices don't matter, that this power of the people that really is the heart of a democracy or democratic society, the faith in that actually working is been weakened significantly. And instead people say, well, if you're Google or if you're Facebook or if you're this Amazon or whatever it may be, you've got power, you've got money, you've got influence. The public officials are going to listen to you before they listen to me.
And would you think it's fair to say that someone like Facebook has the ability to swing elections?
through the power of influence and picking and choosing what information they want to put out, what information they want to promote, what they want to bump to the top of your feed or not. They have the ability to influence, yeah, the information that people are getting, which will determine their decisions.
And I'm like you talking about antitrust. What do you think about companies like Amazon having the amount of kind of influence and contracts they have with the CIA and these kind of government organizations? Is it ethical to have a company that is working on delivering my mum's DVDs and slippers that's also it's well, put it this way, in my opinion, there's never a case where Amazon is going to be deemed a non-essential business, right? When they're running these.
I'm less concerned about Amazon delivering your mom her DVDs and having a contract, a governmental contract, whether it's with the CIA or the Department of Defense, than I am about Jeff Bezos having a contract with the CIA or the Department of Defense and also owning the Washington Post.
Okay. Yeah. So do you feel like Amazon should be broken up?
I think in some ways, yes. I mean, really looking at again, you look at the antitrust laws and the monopolies, and you look at how it, in a lot of ways, has completely decimated so many different mom and pop brick and mortar shops, small businesses. I think that's kind of an economic question that has to be tackled about recognizing the reality of technology and how can you create an environment where mom and pop shops and small businesses can thrive and be maximized through the use of technology rather than just be swallowed up by it. And something else that's in the news here right now is our postal service. United States Postal Service is in dire straits financially. There's a bunch of policy reasons for that I won't bore your listeners with, but one of the issues is, and this is something Trump's talked about, I actually agree with him on, is Amazon's got a super, super sweet deal with the Postal Service where shipping with Amazon, they get a huge discount. And you imagine the volume that they have. I'm not saying that they pay the same as everyone else. I get it. In a business deal, you got to negotiate and be competitive with the UPSs and the, DHL and whatever. But they've got to pay their fair share.
Yeah, it seems like they have too much clout, and because again, one of the cornerstones of America is enterprise and people, it's a capitalist country. But I think what we're seeing at the moment is it's because capitalism is supposed to be a level playing field, and anyone, if you've got a great business, if you've got a great idea, if you operate well, then you can be successful and you can get ahead of your rivals. And I don't think anyone has a problem with that. But I think at the moment what we're seeing is the field is being tipped and the advantage is going to some people where, when you're closing some businesses, leaving others open, that's not capitalism at that point. You're not giving everybody those equal opportunities.
When it's not actually a fair playing field, then that whole concept of if you just work hard, you'll get ahead and you can be quote unquote successful.
Yeah. And I think that's the American dream, isn't it? That's that's one of the reasons people go there is because you can aspire. That actually kind of leads me into a question is, do you think it's possible for anybody to become president in America right now?
In theory, yes. In a practical application, look, I'll give it would be extremely difficult, extremely difficult. And here's one of the things why a lot of people talk about, the influence of big corporate special interest money in politics, which is very real. I've talked a lot about how there should not be political action committee contributions, these PAC contributions coming from lobbyists and special interests going to elected officials, because it creates that corrosive and corruptive environment of influence. And it, again, unlevels the field for, an average person who's a school teacher, a firefighter, whatever, small business owner who wants to run and wants to serve. You can't really compete when you're running against someone who's being showered with money from all of these other special interest groups. But the issue about big money and influence in politics that really hasn't been talked about at all, and no surprise throughout, especially this election or previous elections, is the multi-billion-dollar media corporations who determine what is the outcome that we would like to see in this election, and then kind of shape the narrative of the news stories that are covered or the questions you're asking or not asking, once again, to actually influence the information that people are getting. And I have friends who've worked for certain major media corporations who in 2016, for example, were told, like, don't cover Bernie Sanders, don't cover him. If you and there, somebody actually lost their job because they decided to actually cover one of the two major presidential candidates. And so this is not, and then obviously I've experienced this firsthand very recently.
Well, so do you is it almost in a way then, like, yes, they have their forerunners like Sanders, that they're just trying to cut those people out, and then is there almost a certain thing of it's like planning a drama season that they're almost kind of picking out, right, we need something for our ratings this week, let's put out this inflammatory thing here. It's like planning a season arc in a writer's room or something.
Look at any of the presidential debates that we've just had this year. You look at the kinds of questions that are being asked and who they're being asked of, and how the setups for the spicy moments in the debate are really coming from the moderators in trying to, kind of like bait one person to go after another. And it's not for the sake of better informing viewers. It's freaking good TV, right? It's a political reality TV show, and it's about ratings and it's about money.
They should just go full hog and put you guys in like a Jersey Shore house. just be so
that
cool.
would be interesting.
But that, like, because
you know what would
like
happen though. You know what would happen though if you did that is you would actually see real people getting along and having real conversations, maybe disagreeing, but saying, hey, maybe I didn't think about it that way. And by the way, how's your wife? How's your husband? How's little Johnny doing? And I think that would be a pretty enlightening thing, a story to tell, actually.
Yeah, God forbid any of us get along if we got a different opinion politically.
Exactly.
So do you want to? So you mentioned then, like you've been you've experienced the kind of the media. Like, I don't even want to call it a machine. It must be like going through like a combine harvester or something. It's absolutely brutal. It's once it sets its sights on you and you're kind of caught up in it there. Do you want to talk us through that? And then I'd love to talk about how you come out of that with a smile on your face. Because, you're still here, you're still positive, you're still practicing Aloha. And
exactly.
So I'd love to come back into that. Yeah, all right. Well,
that is the answer. Your question is the answer. The answer is, and I'll start with that first, because it is about Aloha, and it's about being grounded in my purpose and my mission. I think this is something that you can relate to is as service members, ultimately at our core, it is about every day fulfilling that higher purpose and that mission that is outside of your own selfish interest. And from start to finish in this campaign and continuing now, that's what my involvement with politics has always been about. It's about how can I really best be of service? Where can I make the most positive impact? And a lot of my decisions about, well, really the core of my decision, the main reason why I ran for Congress and why I ran for president, was rooted in my experience as a soldier and serving, a couple of deployments in the Middle East, and being seeing up close and personal the costs and the consequences of the decisions being made by these politicians, many of whom either had no clue the consequences of the decisions they were making, didn't care to ask the tough questions about what the government was telling them was going on, and or they knew all of this and they didn't care. Regardless, that was what drove me, and that's what continues to drive me in the work that I'm going to continue to do outside of public office. And that's how that gives me this coat of armor when, whether it's the media or critics or political opponents or lobbing arrows my way, I have been able to remain grounded and focused, and frankly, discouraged at times, but positive in focusing on that mission and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think it did surprise me a little bit how immediate the media's attempts to create this caricature of me that had no grounding in reality, and really literally putting to press, both in print and on television, things that were patently false, and not even attempting to provide the viewer or the reader with any kind of evidence to back it up. And that started on day one of my campaign.
So
Continued.
let's talk through, because
Yeah.
I'd love to come back and hear about because, like, for instance, we've had people on the podcast who have been dragged through the court for war crimes allegations, which were totally baseless. You've been through what we'll just discuss now. So I'd love to come back after this and then talk about like what we can do to hold the media to account on these things. Because, you know, if you're peddling yourself as news, you should probably have to actually have news and not made up fucking headlines.
Right.
So what did actually happen to you then? What did the media kind of sink their fangs into you with?
Basically from day one, it was I was planning and about to go and step out on a stage here in Hawaii to announce my candidacy to run for president and why I was running. And that very afternoon, a news story was pushed out by NBC News, essentially implying that I'm somehow an asset of Russia or a puppet of Russia or whatever it was. It began that narrative that you saw people like Hillary Clinton and others continue to push. And the thing was, throughout my entire campaign, uh, it came from critics and political opponents and all this kind of stuff. All people and the media, all people who uh, would not challenge or debate me on the substance of my foreign policy experience and policies that I was putting forward, the foreign policy vision that I was putting forward, and it was rooted in. And this is what's so ridiculous about this is it's rooted in ending these wasteful regime change wars, toppling dictators in other countries in the world, the follow-on nation building that goes on without really any clear, like, what good is supposed to
Yeah,
come from
let's
this.
just look at those for a second. You give me
And just on just the and the other thing was, we had sorry, just I want to
yeah,
finish
yeah,
this thought. We had
yeah.
a huge missile scare in Hawaii here in, yeah, I guess it was January of last year. And it was it for those minutes, we thought that we had a nuclear missile coming to Hawaii from North Korea. We had 15 minutes to live. Everybody got an alert, and it really struck home a huge wake up call about how, with increasing tensions and rhetoric between the U.S., nuclear armed countries, Russia, and China, we're speeding rapidly towards an eventual outcome of a nuclear catastrophe because of the actions of these political leaders. That I mean, really, really, the outcome eventually is destruction of the world. And we need real leadership to stop that and walk back from it. And it was those two pillars of my foreign policy focus of my campaign, and why I was running to serve as commander in chief, that was then twisted to say, well, oh my gosh, you obviously love Russia. Well, you obviously do this, whatever.
Because Hawaii is a lot closer to these places than especially the East Coast of America, right?
Hawaii is we're in the Pacific. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
very close to North Korea, but also North Korea has continued to increase their nuclear weapons capability, their intercontinental ballistic missile capability, to where Hawaii is not the only state that's at risk or within threat. You know, this is extended far beyond into the mainland United States.
Right, so I want to run some countries by you and just get your opinion if you think these are being like a total failure, a failure, or success. So the first one would be Libya. How do you feel that's going?
The U.S. policy towards Libya was an abject failure,
Mm-hmm.
and it was counter to our national security interests and counter to the interests of the people of Libya. When you look at, obviously there were problems there. There's no denial of that. But if you're looking at from an American security interest, Al Qaeda and other similar terrorist organizations are much stronger in Libya, which is a failed state now, than they were before. And number two, it eroded our ability to conduct good faith negotiations to disarm other either budding nuclear powers or nuclear armed countries because of the bait and switch that was done with Gaddafi. And number three, the people of Libya are far worse off today than they were before, which just is one of the examples of how these wars waged under the guise of humanitarianism to sell this to the American people or the people of the world to say, well, we got to go in, we've got to topple this dictator because we need to help the people there.
Yeah.
No.
Would you say the same thing to it for Iraq?
Yeah.
And you served yourself in Iraq 2004,
Yeah.
2004, huh? So and that's the difference as well. You've been there firsthand. Afghanistan, how do you feel? How do you feel that we've done on Afghanistan?
Afghanistan, the initial mission to go after Osama bin Laden, that what lasted for maybe a year or 2 years in their training camps, Al Qaeda training camps, I felt was a legitimate response to the terrorist attacks on 9/11. However, as you know, very quickly that our leaders then used that to segue into the war into Iraq, and then created a situation where in Afghanistan now for 2 decades almost, uh, are so many lives have been lost in Afghanistan, uh, over $1 trillion American taxpayer dollars in Afghanistan, with even many of our most senior military leaders and civilian defense leaders privately scratching their heads saying, what is this? What are we doing there? What is this all for? Propping up a corrupt government. The people of Afghanistan are still suffering and refusing to accept the reality, which is Afghanistan has had challenges for a very long time. They will continue to have challenges, and it is only the Afghan people who can determine their form of governance and what kind of future they want for themselves. And it will be a painful and challenging process, but every country has or maybe is continuing to go through that painful process. But any externally imposed vision or outcome, it never works. And you're a student of history, and you only have to look through history to see how it's true. It's not guesswork. It's true.
Do you think we have a moral responsibility that once we go into somewhere like Libya, that we should see it through? I mean, obviously, my opinion is we don't fucking go there in the first place and mess it up. But but once you're there and you've done this, that you can't just go, oh, well, didn't work out. We're off now. Cheers. Enjoy your slave markets.
I think the question I think it's important to answer before kind of walking down that path is, what does seeing it through look like?
Yeah.
You know, what does that mean? A perpetual and permanent military presence? Does it mean, hey, let's take some of our technology, and whether it's in water or education or whatever it is, to be able to better help empower people so that they can take care of themselves? I think there's different ways of looking at that. I don't think that the United States should be in the quote unquote nation building business of going and trying to create little mini Americas in all these different parts of the world. So I think that question has to be a little bit more nuanced to answer it.
Yeah, I think as well, it's like what we have to look at in these situations is, for British listeners that don't know, America still has a huge troop concentrations in South Korea, still has like a lot of troops in Japan, still has a lot of troops in Germany. Am I correct with Germany too?
Yep.
So these places, those wars ended 70 years ago, and we still have troops in those places, and they've been a very important part of seeing through a conflict. A conflict doesn't end when the enemy puts down a rifle, which has never even happened in Iraq and Afghanistan. There never even has been a surrender in those places. But like, I think we both agreed on
who would surrender.
Stay
I think that's the point. Like in Iraq and Afghanistan, where would the surrender come from? And this is the problem when we send our militaries out on missions where really there's no clear end state or achievable objective. And so then you end up with this, what they call mission creep, and you're doing this, you're doing that. But what does going home actually look like? What are we trying to accomplish?
Well, what is the end state of the war on terror? Because I haven't got a clue. I don't know what the end state of the war on terror is, and I've been involved in it for a while. So yeah, so what does that look like? Because I've heard people say, well, we got to do it until terrorism's destroyed. Like how? Yeah, there's no destroying terrorism. Yeah. How do people get away in these positions of power How do they get away by not having? If you're an officer, you served in the army, still serving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go and you have a briefing that you're giving, and they're like, well, what happens at the end of the patrol? You're like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. That's you're going to get sent away. You're going to get sent away to work on that plan. If
to
you
put
are,
it nicely,
yeah, if you are an NCO and you go to your platoon sergeant and say, right, this is my plan, you are going to be crawling around the track plan of the harbour area if that's what you're doing. So how is it that there is no how is it that we've gone into these places? Like, what is it about government that's allowing this stuff to happen where they're like, we'll figure it out on the ground, everything will work out for the best, and then do it again and again? How is it possible that this stuff happens?
Because I'm laughing because this is a really serious topic, but I'm laughing because I was enlisted for 4 years, went through officer candidate school, then became an officer, and some of the first things that you learn in going through a leadership school like officer candidate school, or NCOs have their own leadership schools, is just that. What is the mission? What is the objective? And you build your plan in order to be able to accomplish that, to complete the mission. And it's lost on our political leaders. I'm actually going through, I'm a major now, and I'm going through this command and general staff college, doing these online courses right now. And literally just last night was going through this thing on Clausewitz, this book on war.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those basic things. The political leaders need to delineate what the end state is, so that the military leaders can come in and build the mission around achieving that end state. And when you don't have that end state, then when will it ever be over? And how do they get away with it is we have leaders who care more about the fear mongering and how things look and the power plays and maybe making themselves feel strong or appear strong than they do about actually understanding these basic foundational principles of understanding what is the mission, what are we trying to accomplish, how will it serve the national security interests of our country, how will it impact the people in the countries that we're dealing with, whether they be allies or adversaries or partners, and have that foresight to go through this process and understand what the first, second, third, fourth order of effects and consequences will be prior to making the decision to send troops into harm's way.
Is this part of the problem of having a 4-year election cycle as well? Because I've seen it when I've been on tour in Iraq and Afghanistan. You bring a new brigade in the British Army every 6 months, and every new brigadier wants to put his stamp on it. So you'll be doing one thing for 6 months, and your new brigadier comes in, and all of a sudden, oh no, now we're not smashing the enemy, now we're being nice to the enemy. And then the new one comes in, now we're smashing the enemy again. There's no continuity. Is it that way with political leadership as well? Is it about, re-election's coming up, we better do something to, reaffirm the kind of position, win the votes, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a factor. I just, and this is where information is so important. And this is where having a functioning and thriving democracy is so important, because people need to be able to make informed decisions. And I think people are smarter than they're often given credit for, and can see the difference when armed with information between someone who is blustering and posturing and just trying to look a certain way versus someone who is experienced, brings foresight, and can actually lead with a steady hand, putting the interests of the people first rather than the interests of their own politics and their own power.
Thanks for sticking around for the sponsors, guys. I do appreciate it. They are veteran-owned, veteran-operated, and they're supporting us, so please support them. Right Flank is a veteran-owned and operated clothing brand, I just said that, producing gym and active clothing for men and women. With over 20 years' experience, Right Flank bring you tough and well-tested clothing for your most challenging times and tasks. You can find them at Right Flank, that's R-I-T-E, Flank, and that's rightflank.co.uk as well. And they sent me some gear. I love it, guys. I wear it when I go on my little tabs to and from the podcasting studio. And just great to have them along. They're alley blokes who've done alley tours, and now they're doing an alley business, and I'd love it if you could support them. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Camouflage, spelt with a K. Camouflage is a specialist surveillance and investigations company, a brand you can rely on for their professionalism, integrity, and quality of work at all levels. These guys can do anything from looking at people online to going into another country to gather information on the ground. Not only do they get amongst it, but Camouflage are stockers of specialised surveillance, outdoor clothing, equipment and more from the likes of Lawmate, Yukon, TRC Outdoors and Luminae Designs. They also have a service for bespoke handmade ghillie suits and vehicle tracking systems. They're all about it. You know, if it comes for a bit of sneaky beaky, these are your guys. So camouflage.co.uk, remember that's camouflage spelt with a K, and also at Camouflage Limited, Ltd. Camouflage Limited. Remember to spell it with a K. We got some new friends on the guest too. They are from America, and they are Combat Comb Over. I mean, really, to be fair, that's a great name because that says everything, doesn't it? Combat Comb Over. These guys, they make pomades for, right, let's be honest, guys. You're cutting around on base, you're going to the ranges, you know, you go to the ranges, you get doing a bit of exercise, you still want to look good. I know you young lads out there and lasses, you're making your TikToks. And while you're making your TikToks, you want to look good, don't you? But unfortunately, helmet messes up your hair. Headdress messes up your hair. Nah, mate. Not with Combat Comb Over. Keeps you looking fresh. Check them out. Just look for Combat Comb Over. Find them on the internet everywhere. And last but not least, we are brought to you by me, Geraint Jones. I write books. If you like reading books, please read my books. And I will say that's enough on that one. Just look for Geraint Jones. Guys, let's get back to the podcast. Don't know about you. I'm enjoying it. Let's get amongst it. Do you think that's one of the reasons? Because what you said there really kind of struck a chord. Is I feel, especially from the Democratic Party, there's this tone of we know what's best for you. Seems to come through quite a lot. And do you think one of the reasons Trump was successful in the last election was because people feel a little bit kind of patronized by politicians now?
Yeah, in a way, and I wouldn't limit it to one party or another. They have different principles and issues that they're putting forward, but yeah, I think people feel like they're not treated with the respect and that they deserve, given that our democracy is built around the people actually making the decisions about who our leaders get to be. And that was one thing I talked about at almost every gathering, rally, town hall that I had, was the media doesn't actually get to decide who wins this election. Politicians don't get to decide who wins this election or any election. It is literally the voters, and it is ultimately, as broken and screwed up as all of these things are. Where does change begin? It begins with every individual making that choice to maximize the power that's in their own hands as voters, to be informed and to make that decision and make sure that their voice is heard. That is how we begin to turn the tide.
To get to, like, you know, like, so you're saying the people have the power to kind of decide who wins the election.
Yeah.
To get to the point of being the nomination for a party, do the media get to decide that, would you say, at the moment?
Well, I mean, this goes back to what we talked about, the
Yeah.
media having an outsized level of influence, and frankly, that they're working hand in hand with, in my case, in the Democratic primary, with the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
So our party leadership was making decisions along with the corporate media to say, well, we don't actually want voters to hear from, you know, all of the major candidates who are running. We just want to limit it to X.
Yeah.
And that was just such a great disservice to voters. And I heard it from people every day who were turning off those debates, saying, I'm not getting real information. It's not better helping inform me as to who I want to vote for. And I don't like them telling me who I'm allowed to hear from and who they don't want me to hear from.
Yeah. And on that one as well, because one of the things that people did talk to you about, or talk about you in the media, was your trip to, because again, it kind of ties in with these regime change wars, is that, you know, in the tradition, because I think we should make it very clear, traditionally, world leaders and prospective world leaders talk to other world leaders. Like, this has been the way it's been done all the way through bloody history. And I say
For
bloody
good
history,
reason.
yeah, because history is bloody. You have to take the measure of somebody. I was just listening to a Ryan Hodley audiobook the other day, and he was talking about, how, Churchill got to understand. He got like read Mein Kampf and got to understand Hitler. And
Mm.
if he hadn't have made these attempts to get to know who he was up against, who knows how it would have gone. Like, this is just, it's like history 101. Could you talk us through what happened with you and with Assad in Syria, and how your, I would say, a trip of very good intention of trying to save people's lives in the long run is then taken and just spun into to try to make it look like it's some kind of evil act?
It is it is a terrible thing for the cause of peace, that we went from, when President Obama was running for president in 2008, famously contrasted himself with Hillary Clinton at that time, when he was very forceful in saying that he would meet with the leaders of Syria, of Iran, of North Korea, of China, of Russia, of all of these different countries in the pursuit of security and peace. That by engaging in diplomacy, by better understanding the situation and who these people are and why they're doing what they're doing, then you can better better ably pursue a diplomatic resolution to whatever the issue or the conflict may be. And he was applauded for it, and
Mm.
he was lauded for that, rightly so. And to have gone from that to this, where I was completely ostracized and criticized for daring to meet with someone who happens to be the president of Syria. And similarly, a lot of criticism for Trump meeting with Kim Jong Un
Mm.
in North Korea, not once but twice. And it's a dangerous situation where people are putting. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to, hey, here's something that we see as an easy target. We're going to put politics ahead of actually trying to help save people's lives,
Yeah.
whether it's lives of our people or people in these other countries, and use it as a political weapon.
Yeah, I think it's the fact is, there's not many people in politics who have family serving, in the forces and who would be the frontline soldiers. And if you have friends who are in those positions, if you know those people, of course you're going to do everything you can to try and save their lives. If you're
Yeah.
seeing numbers on a spreadsheet, those aren't real people to you. And I think that's become a real problem in politics. Is people just think, oh well, we only lost 500 troops, 500 families ruined forever. When
Yeah,
that happens, and the locals count too. Like
they
there's
do.
also this thing of, well, we only lost 500 troops and there's 200,000 dead fucking locals there.
Exactly.
That's not okay. We should go through every possible hoop to make that not happen. So thank you for doing that. So one of the things I want to talk about, because I hate the term fake news, but it is what it is. There is absolutely fake news out there that's just made up, that is proved
Yep.
blatantly false. You've been the victim of it. Unsubstantiated claims. How is this allowed to hold up, and how can we change that? How can we hold these people accountable? Do we need to boycott media or what? Like, because I think part of the problem is a lot of people grew up on your Cronkites and stuff, people you could trust in the
Yeah.
news. And there's a lot of people, maybe younger people, are more skeptical of it, but there's a big group of people in the middle who's one of the more active voter groups too, who they trust what they see on the news because they used to be able to trust it. They don't really, like, it's very hard. My mum says to me, she's like, I know they're lying to me now, but I trust it. Like, even though there's this disconnect because
Conflict. Yeah.
she could trust it for 50 something years.
Yeah.
So like, how do we get them back on track? How do we hold them accountable?
Um, it's by exercising, I think, healthy skepticism, and actually just understanding at a baseline that unfortunately so much of what's put out through the mainstream corporate media has a bias, and being able to recognize it, and also I think in the process, maybe recognize if you have a bias,
Mm.
you know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that's where, and I know people, they only watch Fox News. I know people, they only watch MSNBC, or CNN, and they're not able to kind of step back and be a little objective, say, okay, well, e- except when you say, okay, gosh, if you have all three of these networks covering the same exact piece of news, the exact same story, and then you see how they cover it completely differently, then I think it's not easy, but it's about being better informed, and also being able to help other people in those situations, rather than saying, and this is one that I've also gotten a lot of, is like, Tulsi Gabbard is a terrible person because she goes on Fox News
Right.
and talks to people who watch Fox News. Terrible, terrible person. Instead of judging people by what news they watch or go on or whatever, like, let's get back to living aloha and just say, hey, what do you think about this? And actually have a real conversation on the substance, rather than just saying, like, no, you're part of that team, I'm on this team, forget it. You're done. You're canceled.
It's amazing though. Like, imagine watching like ESPN, and you're like, you've got one, like you've got an ESPN like channel of one, and they're talking about how the great LeBron James is, and then you go to another, and LeBron James is the worst player that's ever played. That'd be like what the news kind of equivalent is. It's just like it's kind of nuts. I think it's one of the reasons people love watching sports, is because it just, it kind of like, it's just what's on the screen is what's on the screen. I just saw someone got tackled. I know the story behind that. I don't have to worry about it.
The score is the score.
Yeah. So do you worry about like sort of like kind of this whole cancel culture and things? Do you think like is like with the media is more legislation an answer to it? Because the problem with like, I totally agree with what you said there. But like what I can't kind of get my head around is, how do we get people out of those? Because self-awareness is a great slippery slope, but like becoming like self-aware and then aware of your own prejudices and stuff, it's bloody hard work. And when what's the kind of like, what kind of ways can we, do we need to, like, I'm trying to think how we get to people to the point where they recognize that this is going on, because I think a lot of people are so invested in these, like you said, on each kind of team, that like, how do we break them out of that?
Yeah, it's not easy, and it does take a lot of work. I think there are some legislative approaches here in the United States that we can take. I introduced legislation called the Reinstating the Fairness Doctrine Act, which existed about 3 decades ago, that basically said the public airwaves belong to the people. That's a fact. And these corporations are making a ton of money off of their use of the public airwaves. The Fairness Doctrine says, for news entities, if you're going to go in and you're going to cover a story and present this view, you have to present the other view as well,
Right?
So that the viewer can have the choice to hear both sides and form their own opinion based on getting that information. And so I think legislatively, that is an important, really important first big step. The tougher part is the cultural element of this. And I think that the advance of technology and social media is connecting a lot more people with a lot more information, and things that they wouldn't normally see in their local newspaper or on cable television. And therefore then is raising questions about, well, what about this? And this is different from what they told me on the evening news. And so, yeah, there's challenges with that, but there's also incredible opportunity to be able to have more platforms, more streaming platforms to counter that.
But that kind of brings us back full circle, though, to where we were before, about why we can't have these social media groups censoring what's on them. Because then otherwise, if they happen to be like, a lot of these companies are tied in with each other, they will then censor to prop up whatever point that is. Just before we leave, I'd love to know a bit more about your kind of like, again, like your you got a smile on your face, you've been through a lot of shit, and I want to know a bit more about your day. I know you like surfing, I know you're into your nature and stuff. So what kind of, I know you don't have like a normal day, because you kind of running for president, and you're in the National Guard, and you're flying all over the place.
Yeah.
But like, what are kind of some of the cornerstones that you try and place in your day every day to kind of like to keep you grounded, to keep you smiling?
Yeah, even as crazy and unpredictable as the schedule is, even here now, even we're been home longer than I've been home for years at any one go.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been a little, I mean, it's kind of been amazing, but even with that, I'm operating on a Hawaii time zone. The East Coast is 6 hours ahead, so it's not uncommon that I'll have to get on calls at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, which is not the greatest way to start the day. But even as unpredictable as the schedule is, my foundation really is rooted in my own yoga meditation practice,
Mm.
and that's how I both start and end every day. um, Getting that time in solitude and meditation and finding that inner peace and purpose is that foundation. I'll go for a walk on most days, try to catch the sunrise. Fitness, health is both fitness and exercise, as well as diet and nutrition, are things that are really important. We only get one of these bodies. We got to make it last. We got to make it work. And I definitely ascribe to the Jocko Willing discipline equals freedom
Oh, for sure.
motto, where, yeah, some people are like, oh, I don't feel like it. I just want to do this. I just want to eat that. It's like, yeah, okay. In the moment, that might feel good and it might feel right, but ultimately, by just and I slip up. I sleep in every now and then too, but
Yeah. You're not getting your 4:30 wake
living,
ups.
exactly. But sticking to that kind of discipline regimen of kind of the mind, body, spirit care is what has kept me healthy and grounded and focused, really, to be able to continue the mission, to continue to smile and be positive, and not lose sight of that and get lost in the darkness.
You never feel better than when you've had that workout that you didn't want to do you?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's the one
That's
that's
the best.
always, yeah, that's always the best when you do the workout that you didn't want to do.
Yep.
But I think
And it
it's
happens like every couple of days. It's not like it's
oh, for sure. Like, there's because look, when you're on the road, there's an excuse to not do it, and then when you're
for
at
sure.
home, there's, oh well, I'm at home, I don't need. There's
Yeah.
always an excuse to not do it. It's
Always.
very hard to keep a run of things going, especially
Yeah.
when you're a busy person. But I think you're so right that the people see it as like one of the terms that we have is like the force multiplier. And like
Yeah.
to be fit is a force multiplier because if you're traveling, like people don't understand, like you're going back and forth from Hawaii, traveling and changing time zones is hard on your body.
Yeah.
If you have a weak body, like immune system, everything like that, it's all tied into fitness. And if you can keep on top of it, because some people listening right now, they might be thinking, well, I don't have time, but you'll have
Yeah.
more time by making the time for fitness.
Exactly.
You'll have more time because you're going to be more like down the line with everything else.
Yeah. And I think on that note too is it is exercising that discipline in that mind, body, spirit fitness during times when it's maybe a little easier, or when your schedule is a little bit more flexible and not so challenging, that sets you up for success when you are facing those most challenging, difficult environments, whether it be spiritually challenging, mentally challenging, physically challenging. If you just wait until you are at a point where you meet those challenges and think that you're going to have the strength and the resilience and the tools to be able to deal with it, you won't,
Yeah.
period.
And again, that's something I think we're so lucky with the military from is that you don't go up to a job and think you can do it first time. You do drills, you
Yeah,
do rehearsals, you do them again and again and again. I guess it's the same mind and body. Just real
exactly.
quick before we go, what's your meditation practice like? Do you use an app or do you have you do mantras or like what kind of
I
how does
do.
it
I
go?
do a I do a mantra meditation, and use their japa mala beads, that use that in my meditation practice, and repeating different mantras that really are different names of God.
Oh,
And so repeating them just quietly but out loud, to myself. And it's something that's really, really amazing, because in this yoga meditation practice, this mantra meditation practice, just the names of God have a purifying effect on yourself and your heart, and it can be done anywhere. So, if I'm on a long plane ride, I'll put my headphones in, close my eyes, and I can, you can make that time anywhere, anytime. If I'm not able to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning, the beauty of it is not a once a week kind of thing. It's something that I'm able to carry with me everywhere I go. I carried with me to my deployments in Iraq, and it really gave me this strength and the peace and the shelter that I needed during some challenging times there.
So how long have you been doing it for? Like, if you're doing it in Iraq, you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I learned about it. I learned about it when I was a kid. My mom is a practicing Hindu. My dad's Catholic, and so growing up, religion was not about, well, you got to choose one or the other. It was really that concept of sectarianism didn't exist in our house, and real religion is love for God.
Yeah.
And whatever name you choose to worship him by, however you choose to worship him by, that it is an ongoing spiritual practice and a very personal, loving relationship with God. And so, something that I learned as a kid, and as I grew up and started going through my own life experiences, really saw and experienced the reality of and the power of that practice and that relationship.
Is Hawaii one of those places where there's some places where you step off a plane and your spiritual level just go, like, you just feel something? Like, is Hawaii one of those places? Yeah, you like it's like, there's some places, I'm not like a organized religion kind of person, more spiritual, and there's some places where you just go, there's something else. There's gotta, there's something else to this.
Yeah, you got to come here. You'll feel it. I've been here so long. I've been here. My family moved here when I was 2 years old.
Wow.
But I still feel it when I come home, and it's just I think it's a combination of that Aloha spirit and that it's love and it's peace and it's beauty. It's all the good things.
Love it. Tulsi, do you have any parting words to our listeners before you go?
You don't have to be from Hawaii to live aloha.
Yeah, that's
great. And because you've traveled around the world a lot, and we've had the opportunity to experience different people and different cultures, even in the midst of war, and being able to see that beauty, and people may not call it aloha, but call it by a different name. But it is really that universal principle that connects us. And it's so critical. It's something that I apply in politics and in life, that living that kindness, practicing gratitude, treating people with respect, just at a basic level, recognizing we can agree to disagree without being disagreeable or angry or filled with hate. This change begins within each and every one of us, and it extends to how we treat those around us.
I love that. And on that note, I want to thank you for not only coming on the podcast, but doing the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
It is such a breath of fresh air to see somebody that is just, like you said, can disagree without being disagreeable. And that is, like, to tie it in with, Veterans State of Mind, the veterans listen to this. It's so important to know that there's somebody in your corner in politics who knows how important the family is, to know how important the sacrifices are. So I really want to kind of acknowledge you and thank you for that. And cheers for coming on, Tulsi. And to the listeners, you guys hang around. I'll come back. I'm just going to say goodbye to Tulsi, and then we'll finish it with a goodbye and a debrief.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for what you're doing through your own experiences and helping our brothers and sisters around the global veteran community. It's a really empowering thing, and I've been enjoying the conversations that you've been having with other veterans through this podcast. It's a really important platform, and I hope you continue.
Cheers. And I'm a bit worried about which ones you've listened to now. But
I've listened to a few. No comment.
Yeah. All right. Well, cheers. Right. Well, you guys wait around for the debrief. Tulsi, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, there you go, guys. There we have it. Really hope that we can do some more with Tulsi, because I really, really enjoyed that episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you came along for the first time, hope you enjoyed that. We're a bit different on every episode. Sometimes we take it a bit more serious. Sometimes we just have one of my mates on and we have a laugh. But I like to think that it is time well spent when you stick us in your ears. So please come back, and if you enjoyed the episode, please tell your friends. Please support our sponsors. Without them, there is no Veteran State of Mind, and we can't do what we do. So please support veteran-owned, veteran-operated things. And there's one last thing I would ask for you, and that is to reach out to your friends. We're in lockdown right now. Get a bit lonely. Reach out to your mates. Reach out to people you're on tour with. Reach out to people you're in school with. Get around to people. Call people. Do what you can to stay in touch and stay communicating with each other, because we all love each other and we all need to be one big happy family. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Love you. Catch you next time. Goodbye.
Yeah. Listen. Shout out Teaser. You told me not to worry, and you wouldn't break my heart. You told me you were sorry, yeah, my whole world fell apart. You said it's not my fault, and yeah, I've never done you wrong. I'm grinding to a halt, now I can see you're moving on. I promised I'd get better, and I told you things would change. You keep me to the gutter, yeah, I'll never be the same. I've got to let you go, now live your life and spread your wings. And yeah, you put on quite a show, and pulled the puppet strings. And are you sure that you don't want me? Remember all the pain, or maybe you should thank me. It's your loss and my gain. I'm leaving now forever, I won't hang my head in shame. But yeah, you've taken me for granted, and you should feel ashamed. You sold a dream to all of us, a dream that we'd all die for, a reason for us all to live and something we could fight for. I might just help a man up to his feet or hold a newborn, but no matter what I do, my hands remembering my rifle, yeah.
Life's hard, I know that. Still wouldn't change shit. I wouldn't go back, yeah, I wouldn't go back. Feelings I hold back. Memories fade, yeah, they go fast, yeah, they go fast. Good times to come and go, survive the highs and lows. Just take it step by step, I guess, yeah, I suppose. Good times to come and go, survive the highs and lows. Just take it step by step, I guess.